Hello, everybody in listener land. This is Sean O'Shaughnessy. I'm one of the two tall guys talking sales. Today we have a special episode. As many of you know, Kevin and I do a CEO workshop on a monthly basis, which we host on LinkedIn. It's a LinkedIn live event, including slides and conversations and questions from the audience. We've decided lately to put these out on our podcast. So this is a special episode. If you want to see the full LinkedIn live event, go to the show notes and you can click through and you can watch it live on LinkedIn. Or you can just listen to the audio version here on this podcast. We will continue to do our Tuesday afternoon at 4:30 release of Two Tall Guys Talking Sales, which is Kevin and I sitting around talking about one sales topic. We hope you enjoy this special episode of our CEO workshops featuring Kevin Lawson. Without any further ado, Kevin Lawson from Lighthouse Sales Advisors is going to talk to us about avoid B2B sales mistakes that limit your growth. Kevin?
Yeah. Thanks, Sean, and good to see you as always. And thank you, everybody out there. Just a quick thank you. Thank you for supporting us. You know, we've been at this for over a couple of years now, and we're really working hard to give first. We have that kind of mentality that, hey, we've had a lot of people in our lives and our careers who've given to us that's helped shape and develop us as leaders and professionals in our industries. And you know, we want to give that forward as a way to pay back those who came before us. So with that, thank you for being here as well. So today we're going to dig into this topic. It's avoiding B2B sales mistakes, right? Yes, that will limit growth, but just really learning how to avoid a mistake is the key skill, not just a tactic, but it's a strategy and a skill, and that's always in need of refinement, because as leaders, we've got to do things like forecast, we've got to hire, we've got to enter new markets, create pro formas. We've got all these things we have to do as part of our leadership role, whether you're a CEO, a solopreneur, an entrepreneur, no matter what your leadership description is, you've got a lot coming at you. And our give today is helping you sidestep, hopefully, some landmines that you may not know are there or even planted. So let's just kind of unpack that from why did we pick this discussion today? So for all of you, our market commitment is that we're targeting people just like you, right? This is from the Forbes magazine. This is an infographic showing of the businesses based in the US, how many businesses by employee size. So you'll see that bottom number. That for those of you who may be watching on mobile, that no employees, that light blue part of the circle says 27 million businesses have just the founder, just the solo person. So I could be talking to someone in that category. You could be joining today and be part of that category. You could be in the darkest view here, which is the 1 to 19 employees. If you got less than 20 employees, you're one of the 5,400,000 businesses in the US that have less than 20 employees. It's the huge, overwhelming part of the Small Business Administration's focus is to help businesses in these employee ranges to help them grow. And you can see that, there's only less than 1 million businesses across the US that have over 20 employees, up to 500 employees. So just the sheer challenge that you face every day is with all of those things you have to do to run your business effectively, there's just not enough resources often to go around. So making a mistake becomes really, really challenging. So let's talk about what else is going on around you and your business. And this is not meant to be doom and gloom. It's just to kind of level set, if we're going to cover this content, what should you be getting out of it? So yesterday or today, the Consumer Price Index and some of the other index reports are out, but as of yesterday, we're looking across the bottom here. The Consumer Price Index has steadily risen, right, over the past year. Like you can see, January 23, there was a sharp increase from December of 2022. So when consumer price indexes are increasing, goods are getting more expensive, right? When that increases, it's not a bad thing. For a leader, it's a good time to raise your prices in accordance with the consumer price index, but not everybody can just raise your prices. There are limits to what you can do. So if you're under-resourced and you've got a lot of projects, tasks, things to do, people to manage, customers to serve, there's only so much of you and your product and your time to go around. So being aware of this becomes really important to say, okay, well, this is what's happening at the macro level across the US, but it's also at the micro level. It's also, next door. This is what's happening in B2B sales environments. Some prices are increasing. Some good prices are increasing. The cost of goods that are inputs for your product or solution are increasing. So if we're looking at a way to improve our businesses, we need to be aware of the things that are costing us money and the opportunities that could make us more money. So just as a reference point, consumer price index, this will of course change today as the new numbers are released for September. The concerns right now. So this is a graph going the other way, right? So from October 22, you'll see that largest, tallest column on the left-hand side, decreasing that. Inflation has been a charge of the Fed. Well, when you've got rising costs and decreasing cost of goods sold, decreasing inflation, that would be a good thing. So our dollars could go further, but the pricing of the goods is going outside of, is outpacing the inflation. So what we're seeing here is a real challenge for us. And I'm not an economist, but what we're seeing here is market factors that impact us as business owners. So consumer price index, inflation, a lack of available just hands to do the work inside your business means that we have to be both strategic and tactical in how we manage our business. So that's really what we're going to get down today. Is again, we're avoiding the challenges in the B2B sales environment, so you can sidestep some of those real challenges that could adversely impact your business. So that's kind of the setup here that we want to operate and say, hey, looking out to the end of the fourth quarter and on into 2024, what are the things we can do to fight against all these factors that are impacting our business? So,
hey Kevin.
Sir.
So we got a text message from Chris, and I think Chris is on his phone, and that's why he didn't put it on LinkedIn. It's my guess. But Chris, you can obviously type your message right into LinkedIn. But he asked about best practices. Should we be increasing prices monthly? Because those charts that you were showing, as you know, the inflation chart as well as the CPI chart, they were monthly numbers, and they showed prices increasing every month. So what do you think the best practices are for how often should you raise your prices? How much elasticity should that be?
Well, Chris, thank you for engaging us with this content. That's a really great pull out from this. And the answer is more times than not, and this is kind of the unfortunate challenge that, when Sean and I work with companies, we see that there hasn't been a price increase in years, right? So if we can get the discipline to just be aware that prices may need to be changed, that's a step in the right direction. The best practice would be to adjust as necessary, right? There are some, like the consumer price index is not everything under the sun is going up. It's a smaller slice of select products that are measured, month over month to drive that number. So it's not everything all the time, but we do want to make sure that we're keeping up and not actually shrinking our margins, right? Because when we've got things like labor costs going up, if labor and the cost of the inputs that are non-labor go up, you're shrinking your margin. So it's really a one-off kind of discussion that we should have about your business to drive the impact to your top and your bottom line. You could be winning sales that are actually costing you money to do business with that company. So that's the other thing we want to try and avoid. So great insight on best practices. We want to be aware of the margin and aware of the throughputs and all the other factors that are driving your bottom line, your net income line from a sales standpoint. Great question. Thank you. Thanks, Sean. So
yeah,
on the other side,
and just for me to chime in real quickly, give yourself a chance to take a breath. I tell clients, look, when you see this happening where we have increased inflation or increased CPI, or there's one that's specifically for manufacturers, there's how much it's called the PPI. It's another BLS metric that's out there. When you see that, you at least have to look at your standard discounts. So you may have customers that you've negotiated long-term discounts with. So you may be fine on a list price basis, but those discounts may be killing you. So you at least got to look at those, and hopefully you have language in your contract for those discount prices, if you had a contractual arrangement there, that you can adjust those based on PPI. I would suggest PPI, if not at least CPI.
Yeah, and I define just so long as the big takeaway here is we want to go from 0 to 1 in most cases, doing nothing to doing something, because, and back to the slides here, doing nothing is not an option. If we stick our heads in the sand and do nothing, the end point there is turning off the lights, because then you get this compression to the point where selling is actually selling below your cost. So we've got to do something to manage differently today than we did yesterday, because the market is dynamically changing. If you don't believe me, look at anything AI, look at anything in the labor market, in the job, the hiring market, where wages are materially increasing. So we've got to take all these things into account to continue to fuel our growth. Because at the end of the day, I would imagine that anyone listening to this call, your goal is not just to retire from your business and turn the lights off. You want to increase the value of your business to the point where it is a sellable asset, right? And if we're not working on these things along the way, we don't want to get 6 months or 9 months out from wanting to sell the business and realize we haven't done all the things to make the business more profitable, so that others outside our business can see the value inside the business. So that is a end point there that we should all be aware of. So back to the original hypothesis is, we've got a lot of challenges and we don't have a ton of resources that are just sitting idle. So the purpose of today and what we're going to dive into next is targeted actions with a workable plan. As a consultant, I could be accused of making, things overly complicated. But the goal here for today is to take the complex and make it simple. There's nothing easy. I didn't say easy. I said simple. Let's develop a workable plan that's executable by us or people on our team, so that we can change the trajectory or improve the trajectory of our business outcomes. So what I'm also thinking is that you don't have enough people to try lots of strategy. That's why we're going to keep it simple. So doing a lot of different things is probably not as valuable as doing a couple of things really well and very intentionally. So resourcing on the people side, we're going to try and minimize the number of people required to execute these strategies, but also on the process tools. And we can't go out and I'm operating on the assumption that we don't have spare capital just sitting idle waiting to be invested. So we've got a limited amount of dollars to influence these outcomes. So growth is the goal, and the growth is going to be measured on either the increased revenue or profit line. So, all right, Kevin, you're a talking head at this point, but what do I do today? Like, one of my favorite quotes is, all of this talking and coaching is great, but we got to get something done before lunch, right? So we're going to get strategic and tactical. My wife is in fine arts, and she says, hey, you want to operate on the balcony and the dance floor all at the same time, right? You want to be able to go from the strategic to the tactical. So that means we're going to get organized, we're going to get focused. In a lot of cases, we're going to niche down, and we're going to create relevant content. So salespeople, we have to put on our marketing hats at some point. We can't just go along and get along and hope that the next customer or the next flagship organization is going to come knocking on our door unsolicited. It doesn't happen like that. We've got to be commercially visible so that we can be commercially viable for someone else as a solution. So let's dive in. Let's get organized first. We're going to get organized around the areas of RFPs. And for those of you who just rolled your eyes, hang on. I'm with you. I've submitted RFPs and I know what a challenge they are. So we're going to talk in depth about a strategy you can apply in your business to decide how you're going to approach the RFP process, right? It can be daunting. It's a big time commitment. So we're going to dig into that one first. Using sales playbooks. If you've never talked about or heard of a sales playbook, or if you've used some in the past and not gotten great results, or you've used them a lot and they got great results, but you don't have one now, we're going to kind of unpack that. We're going to organize ourselves around how we systemize success, and sales playbooks will be a part of that. Now, I was talking to a group of CEOs about a month ago, and it came to light that one of the questions from the crowd was, hey, what do I do with all of my deals in my pipeline? I have a ton and I can't get to them all. And we started talking about ranking those deals. So we're going to unpack that and figure out strategies to get you organized for results, right? If you don't have, enough time or bandwidth to work with all of your deals, how do you force rank those to where you get the most value for your business from your list of deals? Now, the next piece is kind of what Sean and I do for a living. We talk about this all the time. What is the DIY management, do-it-yourself management, versus the done for you? How do you hire, capabilities into your company? And that's, what Sean and I do for a living. So we'll spend a little time on that. This is not meant to be a sales pitch. But we're going to end on a high note here. So the end point for you as a leader is to take all of your experience, your acumen, your insights, and clone yourself. I'm not talking about, working harder or hiring a family member. I'm talking about getting your best thinking and your best practices implemented with your team. That will be the secret sauce in your business, because in a business that is successful, where the culture is transparent and the culture is measurable, and for you, people can see it from the outside, that you have cloned yourself and your commitments, right? If your commitment to customer service is the same as somebody working a sales counter or delivering a service or delivering goods to a dock, or whatever your endpoint is, if people see the same behaviors out of your team as they do out of you, that will be the endpoint for success, saying, hey, you've cloned yourself in a very positive way. So let's dig in first to this RFP response. Now, I want to challenge you first. I want to challenge you all. I want you to pause for a moment, get out a piece of paper, a sticky note, and decide right now, are you or are you not going to respond to RFPs? I'll let that sink in. You have to decide if you are or are not. Because if you're not, it's an easy one. You just stop responding to them under all circumstances, no matter the dollars, no matter the skills, no matter the logo you're submitting to, no matter what. You're either going to or you're not going to, as a business practice, respond to RFPs. That sounds kind of, absolute, and it's meant to be, because what I have experienced is that when there is a hemming and hawing, a back and forth on whether or not to respond to an RFP, oftentimes what that becomes is a very, very exceptionally low hit rate on that. And those RFPs take time. It takes a lot of time from more than one person. So as a owner, you have to decide, does your industry, does your go-to-market plan require an RFP? If you're in enterprise SaaS, you may have to. That may be table stakes for you. So if you're in the, yes, I'm going to go forth and I'm going to respond to RFPs, we have to have a process. Just like we have a sales process for any of our typical clients, our non-RFP clients, we have to have a process. And some of the greatest advice I ever got, having submitted a lot of RFPs in my life for SaaS and other solutions, one of the best pieces of advice I got was it should be absolutely collaborative. If you're a owner, CEO, and you're the only person entering data into an RFP response, you're probably highly at risk, because it's just your thoughts. There's no collaborative thoughts. When I have led sales teams who have gotten RFPs, we've had roles on the RFP team. Finance, do the terms match up with how we can fund this deal? Operations, do we have the people available? If we do win this deal, can we actually execute on this deal? Partners in a value chain. What are we doing? We have to have that process that says we're going to assemble a team. We're going to all the time answer the questions in this way. I have a peer who's in the RFP writing business, and she says oftentimes the Achilles heel of small businesses, businesses under that 100-person employee limit level, businesses of that size often over respond to RFPs. So maybe that's a nugget you can take away from today. Are you over responding to the RFP? Are you perpetually challenged with, hey, every time I submit an RFP, they want to have my financials and I don't like to give those? That could be a red flag that maybe you need to fall in the category of, no, I'm not going to respond to RFPs anymore. So with that being said, a note to the bottom bullet list here. RFP hit rates are tragically low. I would encourage you to, if you're responding to them currently or have in the past year, and you say, should I really do this as a strategic plan for next year? Should I be responding? Is my time spent on those limiting my ability to grow and scale in other ways? Go back and figure out how many of those you've responded to in the last year. Figure out how much, roughly how much time you spent on those and what was your hit rate. Because if you submitted 20 and got 0, obviously the 0 rate, and you figure out how many hours you spent on that, people are your input there. and you had their time on that. So you figure we may have donated a week or two to that effort, or 3 to just one RFP if it's a big one. So got to figure out who is participating in the RFPs and how much does it cost, and is the value, do I have enough margin in that RFP to make that worth my time? So the challenge here, the B2B sales challenge that could be limiting your growth, is deciding whether or not to respond to RFPs. I hope that's helpful. Let's move on getting organized. Using sales playbooks. Now, there's a lot more content here. So for those of you who have never used sales playbook content, there's some minimum table stakes here. When Sean and I create these, they are robust documents that are living documents. They actually live on. You can literally hand this book or this document to someone, and they can learn everything they know as a part of their onboarding process to be a useful and high functioning part of your sales team, which means they know the culture, they know the corporate structure, they know where we win, they know where we lose, they know the scripts, they know all these things about how to communicate with the market and who in the market they should be communicating to. Again, it's all about these minimum components, but a good sales playbook goes well beyond these minimum components and contents. So for you and your business, if you don't have a sales playbook, don't let this be a huge, daunting, the sky's falling because I don't have this thing. Odds are you have a lot of the components. They're just in disconnected places. We would start by evaluating what you currently have and then helping you move that needle forward so that you can have a sales playbook. Here's what a sales playbook would do for your business. If you've never had one, what they do is they help your team replicate what you do as a sales best practice. But it also points out some shining bright lights on where you may not be executing best practices. And that's not to say that it's bad. It's just to say it's an opportunity to improve. So if you're thinking about next year, we're partially into Q4 of this year as the recording of this webinar. But looking out 2024, you may be already looking at forecasting and revenue planning and resetting quotas and launching new products. If you're entering a new market, now is a very, very high potential time for you to have a sales playbook created for you so that you can empower and enable a sales team to immediately get trained and take that training to market to grow a pipeline, right? So if you're specifically thinking about launching a new product, service, or offering, or retooling one, doing a version 2 or version 10 of that product offering, now's a great time to investigate the usefulness of a playbook for your business. Okay. For those of you who have playbooks or have used them in the past and maybe had lackluster results, it's probably because it was missing some components. And we can probably fast track those to getting them out. If you're thinking about a sour experience you may have had with a playbook, here's your litmus test. Could you hand it to someone outside your industry, and after reading and studying and practicing it a little bit, a month or two, could they be successful in carrying a message to market? Could they have that a reachable understanding of a go-to-market plan for the playbook? If not, that means that playbook probably could use some improvement. And for those of you who are in the category of, I used sales playbooks in the past, I'm at a new company who doesn't have one, that would be great to have one, all of these things, this is where you can really move mountains by spending the strategic time this year, this quarter, so that you're ready for next year. These don't happen overnight. You can't just imagine a playbook. I made a LinkedIn post the other day about this specifically. You can't just wake up and run a marathon having no practice. You can't just wake up and hit quota without having a practice. Having a playbook is like a training manual for reaching quota, for exceeding quota, for carrying exceptional customer value. If you've got somebody on your ops team that has an operations and maintenance manual, or an O&M or use and care manual, that's the same thing they got. We're just using that same approach to sales. A sales playbook is nothing more than an operations and maintenance manual if you're in facility management or selling a solution there. So hope that's helpful in organizing your mind around, hey, do I have this in my organization now? If I had it, what could I do? We can have that separate conversation, but this is a real key to getting started. If you're daunted by this task, if this looks like a mountain too high or a bridge too far, let's just start with how you communicate and set up leads and your sales process. If you don't have that, we can have, that separate conversation, but start with documenting how a typical sales process flows through. It's a foundational, cornerstone kind of moment for your business. Then we would build on other tools and cornerstones to help build and scale the skyscraper. But start with the process. Next, in the comments section, Sean, this is a call out. I'm going to look for you for anybody who's got any feedback here in 30 or 45 seconds. Have you used sales playbooks? Do you use them now? Right? Based on what we've just covered here, let us know where you are. Sean and I are interested to know in what you're experiencing day in, day out, because our goal here is to help improve business sales organizations, B2B sales organizations. That's who we focus on. And so our give here is to say, hey, consider this. Here's some minimum contents that should be in a playbook. If you've not used them, take a screenshot of this, grab it. It's free. This is going to be on LinkedIn. If you're listening to this a year from now and it's Q4 of 2024, these same things still apply. There may be some additions, but I guarantee there will be no subtractions. This is a good foundational minimum contents list for you to use. We're interested to know how you're using these, and we'd love to do some market research and understand how you're using them. What could make your sales organization better by adding to a sales playbook? So that's just our out loud thinking there. Let's shift gears a little bit and talk about not how we attract deals, but actually for the deals that are in your pipeline now. Apparently I'm sharing that. For the deals that are in your pipeline now, what criteria are you as a sales leader or someone who's carrying a quota, what criteria are you using to spend time on your deals? So the exercise is if you're looking at your CRM on a separate screen right now, and you've got, it doesn't matter if it's 10 or 100 deals, right? They could be enterprise deals, and the 10 enterprise deals is a huge number. 100 deals is just a lot of data. So having a system and a plan for organizing your time, notice I didn't say the dollars, organizing your time is the key behavior. Not being time managed here and focused will kill your ability to be successful. You may have seen them. There's a meme where a guy's at the gym. He's kind of between a squat rack and he's got these bands. He's kind of doing everything all at once, doing that everything day at the gym. It's really funny. Just go look it up on YouTube. It won't hurt your browser history. But go think about that. If you're trying to approach your deal list like the guy who's doing the everything day at the gym, there's not enough hours in the day for you to do everything for every customer, every prospect, right? If there are, you don't have enough leads. For the purpose here is the majority of the people I start working with are managing their deal list in one of a few ways. It's like I've got it listed here. It's the dollars, manage the big ones, right? Help me get faster to quota by closing a big deal, which sounds great, but we can't control the speed. We can slow down a deal, but you've heard Sean and I say on other CEO workshops and podcasts that you can't speed up most deals. You can only slow them down as a salesperson. So if you're managing just by the dollars, and that dollar is not going to be allocated till the end of the year, you're really missing an opportunity. And the opportunity, again, is time management. The other thing you may be doing is managing on most active or a date driven, right? Who is asking for the most requirements or who's helping to finalize their scope the most? Well, again, if that's only the way we're managing and ranking deals, we're probably at a deficit here. Salespeople who give you the best insight. This is a sales leadership. These next two are sales leadership focused. So I have been a part of leading teams where I had somebody who was really great at just managing a CRM. And that was really helpful to me as a remote sales leader who's managing a team across the US. It's really helpful to have that data. And so I'd spend a lot of time because I got the data on their deals, right? I could action and help and coach and develop. But what was really challenging there is this, for the salespeople who weren't giving me deals, I was constantly following up. What's the status? Can you give me an update here? Any resources you need? I was trying to help coach, but I found that I was actually micromanaging, and that wasn't helpful either. So all of these are challenges. Okay, Kevin, well, that's great. So what do you do? Well, the simple thing to do here is to rank your deals and have your salespeople, this is a methodology, have your salespeople rank deals by the probability of them closing. Now, probability of closing doesn't mean percentage completion or what you think in your gut is the one you'd like to close the most. It's the one that you in your gut and based on the conversations and qualifications you've had has the highest likelihood of closing. and then buy when in the customer's view, not yours, in the customer's, and in the customer's relative dollars. It's not how many budget or allocation dollars you want to sell them. It's what do they really need for their solution. So when you're ranking your deals based on probability, you start with the what you know about the deal, then you apply the probability of it closing, versus no decision or versus a lost or a push or, oh, we're just budgeting for right now. Doesn't matter how much scope they're giving you. If they're just doing budgeting right now, there's only so much time you should be spending with somebody who's asking you for a budgetary quote only for next year's budget. And now Q4 is a time where that happens a lot. Hey, I need a price on a XYZ upgrade or a new system this or an expansion that or a new line at my manufacturing facility or a new dock addition or a construction project. If that sounds familiar, it's probably because I've heard that a lot, right? It's all of our sales lives. We're spending a lot of time on the things going on that are present. We're living out of our inbox. So we've got to step back and get strategic and say, which of my deals has the highest probability of closing, and then allocate time and attention to that effort. It's really important. So reorder, probability to close, then the time urgency, then the dollar amount. That's how you improve your forecast. So if you're trying to avoid the mistake of getting to the end of the month with nothing closed, some of that may sound like discounting, last ditch effort, or what we've probably all gotten a call from the senior VP or the really high ranking person who says, what can I help you do to get this deal done? Right? If you've heard that, you've probably also gone, golly, Pete, don't mess up the relationship I've worked so hard to build to try and get it done by Friday when Monday it would happen anyway. We don't want to sacrifice dollars because we're not patient enough to value the relationship with the customer into the next quarter. I know that bothers some people by me saying that. I'm willing to die on that mountain because everything I'm committed to is people buy from people they know, like, and trust. And if we are good sales leaders, establishing good quotas and setting good sales targets, we should be cognizant of that. You will not hear Sean and I talk about a price discounting procedure as a structural way to win deals. We win deals, focus on the outcome and how we can service that pain and reduce it for a business. We're in the relationship and problem solving business. Cool.
Hey, Kevin. So Kate actually a couple minutes ago put out her message. I think it was the response to your sales plan question. And her statement was, do not use one, but I think I should now. So I think that was in response to your sales plan question. I responded back to her, thank you, Kate. Yes, you should. But anyway, I thought maybe you might want to put more juice on that.
Yeah, sure. So a sales plan, and I'm assuming that's a part of the sales playbook and the sales process. So having a sales plan, being intentional about where we're going to sell, once we get to that who are we going to talk to about the solutions we have? What is their pain that we're associating with? What is their problem? Building out that plan, process and design becomes foundational. Kate, I don't have your information here, but if you're a sales leader, having that plan and that design and that process allows you as a sales leader to ask better questions. If you know that we're targeting a market that has the right people in it, and we have a conversation active with a right person, we can then ask our salesperson, hey, what else do they need? Or have you defined or helped them define any specifics about their situation that we can uniquely solve? Hey, have we had the conversation about teaching them how to buy from us? Have we educated the buyer so they know how to buy from us effectively to get the most value for their business? Do we know how to buy from them or to sell to them? Do we know their sales process? We can go back to Sean. You've got a great course out on MedPick right now, and that's a very dense and rich process for approaching these enterprise sales and leaning into that. And Kate, I want to thank you again for your question. Having a designed process that also includes the sales playbook and the KPIs and all of those pieces, that sales plan is actually, and for those of you in a leadership position that are worried about how to hire well, having these assets available makes you a more attractive employer. So if you're thinking about, should I spend time on this? The answer is unequivocally yes. You need to spend time on the plan, the process, the design, because that helps people that are coming towards you see value in working with and for you. That's really important. So I hope that was helpful. Again, Sean, thanks for interrupting. And Kate, thanks for the question. Really appreciate that. Moving forward to the DIY management. And now, the idea of DIY versus done for you. So done for you is an as a service, whether it's software that's a package that you buy. You think about, that's why we go to restaurants. I can cook at home, but done for me is going to the restaurant. I want to go out and have an experience. I want to hit an easy button. I want to do something that allows me to de-stress or enjoy something about my life. So in B2B sales, in B2B leadership and management, time is your greatest asset. It's your highest value, right? So if you as a leader, owner, sales leader are saying, well, I don't have these resources, you could probably build them. There's enough free content out there. Sean and I have this series plus a weekly podcast that if you're not subscribed to that, please go listen to that. We give away a lot of the what and the where and the when for how to build a lot of these tools. But pulling it all together becomes an exercise in speed, right? So when Sean and I say we build revenue faster, accelerating revenue for your business, this is what we're talking about. We get to skip step because we know how to quickly and effectively and efficiently build, implement, select tools that make the most sense for your business. What you may not know about Sean and I is that we have a lot of background in software, in operations, and in strategy, and we can pull from that experience to say, well, for a professional services business, we recommend this tech stack solution, which is CRM, marketing automation, operational excellence, project management on the manufacturing side. On SaaS, something similar, but with some different tweaks for project management or contract management or managed services agreement. If you're in the professional services or SaaS business, we've got licensing management. We got all these different tools that we know to bring forth quickly. And if they're competitive, we can help you decide and make the best fit for your business versus the way I used to buy things when I was working for others in industry. I was actually going out and doing all the research, spending all the time and projects. That's why selection projects take a year. We as sales leaders want to know, why does this sales process take so long as well? In large part because we as leaders who are sales leaders are trying to make a SaaS decision based on the research we've done. And we've spent that time doing that. Another piece may be, should I do this DIY or done for you? This is unfortunate, but a lot of people we work with have been working on pet projects as opposed to strategic initiatives. So if you're thinking about, wow, what am I working on inside my business that is not customer revenue facing? Here's an opportunity for you to say, all right, let's take an intellectually honest approach here and say, is this something that is business building, customer facing, or is this just something I just really want because it's a trophy, right? If you can apply a lot of scenarios to this. It's like, do you go out and wash the truck or do you deliver goods? If you've got a backlog of deliveries, you go deliver the goods. You don't wash the truck. You wash the truck on off time. That's the kind of thing. That's a really low hanging fruit kind of example. But the idea here is we want to elevate you as a leader on your most high value projects and processes so that the business is able to extract the most value from your input. If we want to subordinate or push down or hire out the other things that can be subordinated, that can be done faster by someone else. So a couple of benefits there. I've listed them: speed to completion and avoiding the pitfalls. Sean and I, in our work careers, we've also skinned our knees on a lot of things that we can help you not have that same kind of experience. So the shift here is focus on your strengths, hire for your weaknesses, and delegate all the other tasks. I used to work with a guy, and he'd say, do what you're best at, hire out what you can't do or don't want to do. It's just that simple. And there's all these fancy names for it, but Sean and I have opinions, not surprisingly, right? We went into business for ourselves because we have opinions. We have opinions and we have experience that we can relate to those opinions that could help your business. So want to invite those conversations. Cloning yourself. This is the number one thing I spend time on with managers or business owners who are trying to scale their business. They have said, hey, Kevin, we want you to come in, or Sean, we want you to come in and work with our business because we've made 4 bad hires, none of them stuck, or we've got a group of 10 salespeople and they're not selling what I want them to sell, or selling to who I want to sell to, or they're not getting the profit that I want them to get, right? Something is going on. They just can't seem to find that magic sauce to get the solution commercially profitable. They want a business improvement. So for you, think about where you spend most of your time. This may be a calendar exercise for you. Do you spend most of your time managing the dollars? Most active or data. Oh, I see I've got an issue there with the slide. But where do you spend most of your time on these, on the dollars coming into your business and your best practices? The idea here is to manage your time intentionally and share your wins and losses. We want to take all of these sales leadership things we were working on and shift the focus down to the best practices, right? It's not surprising that this list is the same one from, how are we ranking our deals, right? You got to spend your sales leadership time cloning yourself. You got to get these same bad habits off of your plate and get good best practices onto your sales leadership's plate. Now, the difference here is in the sharing the wins and losses, right? Your best practices is a great teacher. We've all, as leaders and owners and professionals, had that moment where we lost a deal. And it's for a variety of reasons. We may have lost a similar deal for a variety of different reasons. How many times have we gone to our ideal client profile and one we lost to a competitive bid, one we lost to no decision, and one we lost because they decided that they wanted to just work with a different vendor, or they wanted to work with an incumbent, or they something else happened, or they wanted to insource versus outsource. All of these times, so this is why it comes back to why it's so important to rank deals and spend time and share those best practices with your entire team, right? So your management time, just like in the ranking deals, comes full circle back to how you clone yourself. So we got to get people on board with the idea of why we do what we do. So managing your time intentionally and sharing those wins and losses becomes a really high value effort for you. So we're right here at 44 after, or 43 after the hour. And my commitment to you is to keep this to 45 minutes worth of content, because you've got to transition probably to your next appointment. So here, Sean and I were thinking about this, and how do we share forward our value to you? And so we said, well, we would like to offer anyone on this call, anyone who listens to this afterwards, we know you got business challenges, so we want to make you an offer. And it's a free offer, so it's one you can digest. It's a sales effectiveness tune-up, right? So all things like these are just 4 or 5 different areas that you can be making mistakes, but Sean and I have a lot more experience in tuning up sales organizations. So what we're offering is a 60-minute consult after you take an assessment of your sales organization. We'll review it based on your inputs, and we'll have a conversation about areas you might be able to tune up. It's free for you. It's our give forward because we think there's value in it, especially this time of year, as you're thinking about forecasting into next year, as you're thinking about what's going well, what's challenging, and what could be improved. These are the kinds of tools that we think we can bring to bear for you to improve your business. All right, here we are, 15 minutes left before the top of the hour. Our next workshop, Sean's going to present this one. I'm going to host. It's Defining Your Corporate Sales Strategy. It's in a few weeks from now, November 7th, 11:30 a.m. Again, the 1 hour time block, but the CEO workshop with Sean. Mark your calendars now. There's a LinkedIn post already out there if you want to go ahead and sign up for that, or put it on your calendar. It's active and available now. Don't forget, take your vitamins. Hey, for those of you out there in listener land, reminder, we have a weekly podcast. It's 15 minutes. We take a very thin slice of time and we tackle a big issue. We've tackled everything from cloning yourself as a leader. We interviewed a guy over a 2-week podcast where he cloned himself and figured out the process for cloning himself and how much he could absorb from an internal versus an external point of view. We've tackled everything from lead generation to hiring and compensation plans. So we invite you to join us on that 15-minute podcast. Get it wherever you get your podcasts, Spotify, Apple, or otherwise. But join us for that 15 minutes. Thank you. Sean and I, again, and Sean will transition back to you here in a moment. Sean and I, we do this because we think there's a value to market here. Sean has got a lot of experience selling to and for the biggest organizations that you've all heard around the world. My favorite sentence about Sean is the second one here. It's after accumulating enough airline miles and hotel points to travel the world, Sean decided to focus on small and medium-sized business. that's the crux of it. We've all spent a lot of time in airplanes and in front of businesses, and whether it's B2B or B2C or B2G, we've got the experience and the hotel points to prove it. But now we both own our own businesses that we focus on you, the small business owner, the consultant, the person with a sales team of less than 10 people that's trying to upskill or punch above their weight. That's where we focus, and we champion your challenges. So thank you for being here. And Sean, over to you.
Thank you very much. As I said earlier, we are 40-second delayed for what you are hearing. So if you do have comments, we're going to hang on here for a few minutes to go ahead and do that. You can always send it direct. That offer that Kevin talked about, where we'll come in and we'll do a sales tune-up for you. I can't remember exactly the words you used, Kevin, but it was good. But we'll do that tune-up. We'll come in. That's a standard offer. So you can message us on LinkedIn. You can see how to get a hold of us right on LinkedIn. If you know us, you can always drop us a note on email, but it's probably just as easy just to message us on LinkedIn, and we'll be happy to come in, do an overview for you, and kind of tell you what needs to get fixed and how, as much as we can within an hour, right? So, but those are very effective. I've done those for a variety of companies, big and small. I've done it for one-person organizations, and I've done it for 200 people organizations, roughly. So, lots of good stuff like we can share with you in just an hour after you've kind of done a question answer survey in advance. So I don't see any more messages coming in, Kevin. So I thank you very much. This has been great conversation, great information. Thank you very much for all of your wisdom. And I think since there's no messages coming in, I think we'll just call it a day. And you can always catch the rerun on this on LinkedIn. This is out there forever, or at least as long as LinkedIn says forever exists. So thank you very much for your time.